Start recording.
Okay.
I'll also start this YouTube തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട് then.
Yeah, recording.
Just a minute.
Greetings and good evening to all the members of AIWC who are joining us on this platform and who will be viewing this recording at leisure at their own time. Today we have with us a very enterprising feminist writer, theatre artist, I would say a very multifaceted theatre artist with us today to talk to us about Beyond the Gaze, Feminist Theatre and Power of Female Creation. As you know, we started this forum, Literary and Cultural Forum, about 4 years back, and we have been regularly having talks on this platform every month. After we finished the 50th episode, we realized that it would be a good idea to have another session, start another session, which we called Narratives of Personal and Cultural Experience. So this forum we thought would bring women writers, women artists, women visual artists, as well as writers who would talk about their personal and cultural experience. So in this series, this is the fourth session that we are having. And we have somebody who has made a mark in the theatre. And we are very proud to say that she is from Kerala, and our own Rajarajeswari, who in fact has theatre, which she has, I would say, with a team, but as a leader, put together, which she calls the Niriksha Women's Theatre. She is the director of the theatre, she's the designer, she is a concept developer, she's an organizer, and as a founder member, of course, has put this theatre group together and has made significant contributions to the world of theatre. She has written over 20 plays, and her scripts like Pravajaga and Pravajaga, I'm sorry, yeah, because it is in English, it's difficult to translate. An original script inspired by the Greek character Cassandra. I found that very interesting to know that how Greek characters and Greek women characters continue to inspire writers of the present times. She has also Aanungal Illatha Pennungal, which is another play that she has adapted from Parshupur's novel Women Without Men, and Punarjani, also an original story and script that dwells into contemporary women's lives. These have been showcased in national festivals, have won various awards in amateur drama competitions. Rajeshri, as I said, has scripted over 50 plays for children as well, not only just adults. So women's community theatre and theatre workshops. She does not just confine herself to directing and writing plays. She also conducts theatre workshops for women, students, and faculty members, and develops concepts for Niriksha Theatre's workshops, generating themes and functioning as a dramaturge for workshop productions. She has served as a camp director for 12-day playwriting workshop for women, organized by her theatre with support from NSD and RRC. She has also directed some plays, which include Niralugalude Manam, that found a place
Manam. Scent of shadows.
Manam.
No.
Manam.
Manam. Scent of shadows. Scent of shadows. I think I'm
Niralude is, of course, shadows. Manam is?
No, Manam.
Manam.
Oh. Scent.
Okay, the scent of shadows. that found a place in the short story competition by Kerala Sangeeta Nadaga Academy, and Mother Courage Revisited, a play in English, adapted from Bertolt Brecht's Mother Courage and Her Children. She has also provided music design for about 10 of the productions, as well as designed plays for Malayali women diaspora in Mumbai. So that's a little about what she has done. But more than that, I think for the women's theatre that she has launched, there seems to be a lot of pioneering work that she has put in. This particular theatre, the Niriksha Women's Theatre, was founded in 1999. It's a pioneering theatre organization dedicated to promoting social change and empowering women through theatre mission. Her intention and the intention of the team is to amplify women's voices, foster social awareness, and through innovative theatre productions and theatre initiatives. She has also other artists with her, like Miss Sudhi Devayani, who's an MPhil in theatre arts with 30 years experience in women's community theatre. And Rajarajeswari, interestingly, is a PhD in mathematics, self-taught theatre person and playwright. So it is the artist in her, though she went into a world of figures and facts. I think that drew her back to the theatre for women and social change, which she uses for life skill education and theatre interventions. Her team, there are 12 actors, playwrights, choreographers, designers, and resource team initiatives who all combine together to produce aesthetically produced plays with a woman's perspective, has all those workshops and training programs, community theatre initiatives, and of course, street plays. And she has projects which deal with theatre for healing, life skill education, theatre for emancipation, Rangashri Community Theatre, empowering tribal women of Wayanad. And so the list goes on. I'm sure she gave me only a short write-up of what all that she has been doing. And I must say I was very impressed with the work that she has been doing in order to bring attention to the women's cause, women's emancipation, women's empowerment, and seeing it all through the female gaze. Though in her title, she does not say female gaze or a male gaze, one gets this feeling that we are moving out of those gendered perspectives and we are beginning to look at the world through human eyes rather than through male or a female gaze. When you go back to the performance of women's theatre, and I think she has a slide on Helen Sisu, I was also thinking about talking about Helen Sisu because she, in a way, laid the foundation for the notion of emancipation of women and empowerment of women. We all know that the 70s was a very crucial age in times in the US when the feminist movement was launched. And in India also, the strains of the feminist movement and women's participation and women's uprisings for empowerment and equality began to come, along with writers in the West, in India too. I think there was a strong movement of women to find emancipation and equality for women. When the feminist movement started in India, people raised their eyebrows and said, you cannot bring Western feminism to India because we have a totally different culture. It is not man versus woman here because we have this concept of the man and the woman, the non-gender, I would say, in each individual, in each human being. So it is this notion of not an individual supremacy, but in terms of trying to say that the woman's voice was louder than a feminist voice. In other words, when Alice Walker in US talked about the woman's place rather than what we call the feminist place, she was talking about not just oppression by the male, but oppression on terms of race, racial discrimination, segregation. So there are a lot of other issues then what was at first thought to be an opposition to a patriarchal world, to a male-gendered world. Now, this male-gendered world, which sought to impose a supremacy and to rule the world, which we very loosely call the patriarchal gaze or the male gaze, looked at everything from a totally different angle from the woman. It is very interesting to know that when women writers came on the stage, if you look back, even a writer like George Eliot, Mary Ann Evans, she was a woman writer, but she chose a male name because that was the way in which she could get her works published. But at that point of time, Mary Ann Evans was also talking about what the male gaze was looking at, a patriarchal world that was there. It is only if you read her closely, you find the strains of feminism in it. I mean, this term feminism is not a term that one should shrug away. It is not a term that one sees with a lot of antipathy in society. But it is a word that should be taken for its genuine quality, the quality of the woman's voice. A feminist is not just a rebel. A feminist is someone who is able to raise a voice against a social autocracy, social oppression, the different kinds of social injustice that women face day to day. You know, divorce is something, the poverty, it is the woman eats the food last, and the poverty that is part of the woman's natural growth and growing. Or you talk about how the woman is beaten up in her homes, the maltreatment of women, not only in society, but within the home itself. So there are many issues that maybe when the man writes about, he forgets or he does not want to see. And therefore, it is necessary for a woman like Rajarajeswari to come to the forefront, look at these issues, and display it not in words only, but through visual representations. And all of us know today, in today's world, what really shakes people is not the written word, it is the visual word. And the theater is a place where you see a performance which is not only visual, but which is auditory, which is so close to you because you are also close to the artists. It's not like seeing a film. In a film, they are on celluloid, they are distanced from you. But in the theater, like in Shakespeare's theater, we know that when the groundlings sat around the stage in the Globe Theater, they participated in what was going on. Similarly, I think when a woman's theater gets to the streets, as it were, street theater, we talk about a street theater. This was there in the north to begin with. And there were many artists there at that time who took to the streets, particularly there were groups of girls belonging to universities or belonging to the colleges, young girls who would come out on the streets and then make a declaration or a presentation about what harasses them or what oppresses them, and call for an enlightenment in this society. So the street was the theater. So from the street, feminist theater moved to, I would say, to a staged presentations. And that is what we are having in India today, as well as in the Western countries. In the West, in Britain, in Canada, in US, in Australia, everywhere we find that it is not just white writers, but there are those colored, differently colored writers, the black writers who have come to the forefront, and each group have their own stories to tell, their own narratives to tell, their personal experiences to narrate, and to show society that this is not something that is confined to one person or, say, a group, but it is something that is pervasive in society, and we need to open our eyes to that. And this is what street theater from what I would say a group of women have come into the forefront. And one of the more important writers like Carol Churchill in 1982, she has a non-linear British play that follows a career-driven woman who hosts a dinner party for important historical female figures. I found this very fascinating because this play is called Top Girls. And in this play, in Top Girls, what you have is the past, as Rajarajeswari was telling us, the past is as important as the present. The historical representations, the great figures of women figures of history, they are brought alive. Yesterday, together with some friends, I went to see Loka, which is for the first time we have a superwoman. It is not a superman. The superwoman dominates. And it is not only that, her character is associated with a mythical character of the past, Neeli. So the way in which women relate, perhaps not, I wouldn't say many male narratives would take an initiative like that, where the woman is centered and the woman has a past. A woman has a legendary cultural past with a personal experience and what applies to the present world. So you get the feeling as you are watching women's theater or feminist theater. It is the female gaze that has now been molded to become a human gaze, looking at the pitfalls in society, which sometimes are ignored, the way in which women have been sidelined, the women have been, what you'd say, cornered at times, where they are put into a position from there is no escape. And I think feminist writing and feminist theater is helping women to come to the center stage and to leave those margins to which they had been designated for a very long time, and to claim for equality. And we find that all these plays are by women, for women, and about women. And that is what makes it very interesting. And I must say, Rajarajeswari, we are very fortunate to have you here today to talk to us about your writings, your presentations, the way in which you have built a theater that has put a team together and a voice that is heard. And she has also been awarded, she didn't write that in her CV, but I know she has been awarded a number of awards by many artists and theater groups. So with these words of introduction, a very, very warm welcome to you, Rajarajeswari. A warm welcome to all the members who have joined us here. Thank you for joining us.
Jamila ji, today you spoke very well, very impressive.
Thank you.
Today you spoke very well. Really, it touched my heart. That's why immediately I want to comment now.
Okay,
very
thank
nice.
you,
Very
Prajit ji.
You're
Okay, thank you, Jamila.
So over to Rajeshwari. Yeah.
Thank you for your warm welcome and very good, very interesting introduction, which made it easier for me to enter the subject. But just before I start speaking, I want to make a small correction. Not small, it's a very valid correction about Niriksha. I co-founded Niriksha Women's Group along with Suti Devayani, who is a theater person, who, in that sense that she has acquired degrees in theater arts. I'm a self-taught person. We both have joined together to form Niriksha Women's Theatre, where we interchange roles. Sometimes, mostly I write plays and she directs. Sometimes I direct her plays. So it goes on, it is a sort of things like that it goes on. So I just want to make that. She's not only an actress, she's a very good actress also, but she's she directs most of the plays of Niriksha, which I penned. Okay. So coming to my subject, I would like to divide my talk into 3 parts, which I have titled as Breathlessness, Dilemma, and Finding Your Voice. So these 3 are the state of mind of myself as I grew you know, I grew up in a very conservative community, but within a liberal family. My family was liberal, but the community I belong to is very constrictive, and which defines the women's role in a very patriarchal sense, which is very rigid, and it follows the patriarchal norms of how a woman should be. So as I grew, so when I was growing up, in my growing up time, the main problem that I faced is that was language. Because we spoke Tamil at home and living in a place where other people are talking Malayalam. So that conflict was one of the main reasons, I would say, of my initial breathlessness. Because that when I say it's breathless, it's slightly different. It's a nuance, and it should not equate it with suffocation. Because as I said, my family was a very liberal one. So I had enough space, and I was not molded at a very young age into conforming to the patriarchal form. So it is not suffocation. It is a sort of excitement generated because I cannot say what I feel. That is one thing. So I could not explain with the language I have about actually what I'm feeling, not as my individual personal experience, but what I think of what's happening around me. That happened in a very young age, maybe in middle school itself, because I had the privilege of being able to read a lot. Our family had a very huge library, which we mostly had books in English, but had certain, and it contained fiction, what you call philosophy and scientific books, lots of books. And there was no restriction I was allowed to read, not because I'm a woman who should be reading, no such thing had happened. So in middle school itself, I was reading a lot, and that's mainly English books. And, you know, the only language I had command over, I would say not only to speak, but to write, and also had grammar, control over the grammar of a language is English. The other languages, the Indian languages, it was through familiarity. That is, because one is my mother tongue, I speak it. But I was not able to read or write. Because the other people around me talk Malayalam, I was able to understand it and slowly acquired the means of communication through that language. So that is different. That becomes different experience, because as a writer, because I'm talking now in a writing as a writer sense. Even though I was a child, I was talking about my experience as a child. So as I read the books, somewhere it did not relate to the great canonical text, the books that we call classics. When I read it, it didn't communicate. So why I am saying this as my experience is because I'm not talking about feminist theory alone. I had no idea. Remember, there were no books on feminist theory in that library, because in that time, it was only in 70s and 80s, and later on in late 80s, that books on feminist theater came over to India and Kerala. So at that time, when I was reading the early 70s, I have just had a feeling that it is not relating to my experience, but I could not explain what it is. I had no tools of explaining why I don't relate to it. So that is the cause of my breathlessness period. So what I read did not relate to me, and I had no tool to speak or explain why it did not relate to me. So that period continued well into my puberty also. So that phase is somehow I managed that phase with conversation in my mind. Always I used to speak in my mind, my thoughts were actually my thoughts were dialogic in nature. So I used to ask, why is it like that? It is because of this. No, why should it be like that? So I should answer it in my mind. So in my mind, I had characters. There are characters who say it is like this, and me telling why it should be so. And that dialogue happened always in my mind as I grew up. So mainly, as I said, because English, I was more of an English language. I talked in English in my head. Later, that phase actually continued very much into even in my college days. It was only in the late 80s, I think, when I was exposed to feminist literature, where women were talking about their experiences freely. And it was the first time I could connect to those experiences. That is the phase, that was the end phase of my breathlessness period, because here I have found something I could relate to. And through that, I found a voice, or rather the means or the language to express what I feel. That language is not the typical language, Malayalam, English, Tamil, nothing. It was the language, how to express your feeling in whatever language that exists around you. So that gave me the opportunity to think in a different way. So that eased my breathlessness, and I was a bit more excited over the possibility of being able to express myself in whatever language tools I had with me then. So that entered, but that opened another phase of my life, which I will call a dilemma, which I titled as dilemma. What is the dilemma? That is, what should I do to express what I feel in my lived experience? This experience, in my lived experience, how should I express my lived experience in this language that I have in hand? So the English language, though I have read English authors writing, Indian English writers writing about Indian situations, very well, like R.K. Narayan, Raj, and all that. R.K. Narayan's stories, it was very interesting. I was very much interested in reading as a child. So I know that English had that power to express even Indian realities. But for me, that was not enough, because I wanted not just Indian realities to be expressed. I wanted to express Indian women's reality, which was much more nuanced. And, that nuances cannot be brought about by this English language. Or even if I am able to do that, it may not communicate as a person, Indian, Malayali, to others. Because I'm living in a Indian state of Kerala, and Malayalam speaking here. If I express myself only in English, I may not carry through, because I would still be another person speaking about some another language, in another tongue. So that would put a distance between what I'm saying and the listener to what I say. So that had a problem. So language in the physical sense was very problematic, not in the sense of what Sisu says, very physical sense, because the lack of control over the language was my main problem, I said. But slowly I acquired my proficiency in Malayalam. I could write well. I gained a lot of vocabulary. I could write well. The thing is, my mother tongue is something I can speak only. As I said before, I could not read or write in it. But I just wanted to share an interesting thing. Somewhere in my high school, there were a lot of Tamil magazines brought into the house. Somewhere in my high school days, I just opened one magazine and started reading. Now, I don't know if anybody would believe me, because nobody had taught me the Tamil scripts. Malayalam scripts I am familiar from the school, from the fourth standard till fourth standard. I had studied Malayalam. So I am familiar with the Tamil script. Nobody had taught me, but suddenly one day I opened a magazine and started reading. So I still don't know how I did it. So that's very interesting because the acquiring of language is a very complex thing, I think. Needs much more study, deeper study. Anyway, that aside, as I gained more confidence in speaking Malayalam. Earlier, I used to be a very silent girl. Up to middle school, I was very silent girl because, I am speaking one tongue in my home and going out and listening to another language. And as I acquired the language, my accent was heavy. In Malayalam, I speak in a very accent with great accent. So I was not, everybody used to make fun. So maybe that made me silent. But as I grew up, as I learned Malay, I started talking a lot. But still, when I started writing prose, that is very important, writing prose, I found that I'm not writing in Malayalam like me, like as I want to. Because that is one of the problem of acquiring a language. When you acquire a language through reading, when you write, you tend to imitate what you have read. So that even though you have vocabulary, it's not the lack of vocabulary. You have to think a little bit more deeply. It's not the lack of vocabulary, but the way you write. The way you write is when you do it in an acquired language, you tend to imitate some text you have written or the style that you have written. So you are not writing like you are. I was not writing like me. So that problem was there, always was there. And that was the dilemma period's main problem. So why it was that problem is because that language itself, as it was, the writing style in that language at that period, earlier, late 70s, early 80s, were really very masculine in the sense mostly written by men. The great texts were all written by men. The penna had not come into that much prominence at that time. So you tend to imitate that, but made me feel like, no, this is not me I'm writing. Now, if I read some of those articles which are written when I was some 20, 25 or something like that, I just puke. I don't want that at all. So now, I don't want to write in English because I thought it will alienate me from my readers or listeners, but I cannot, I found that I cannot write like me in the acquired language of Malayalam. So that is the dilemma. Now, that state was overcome when I regained, I told you about the conversation in my mind. I always, during the breathless period, I always talk to myself. I put something on the other person as another person would say, and then I would say a reply to it. So that dialogic manner of thinking, that I had shelved as I went into college, I went into learning mathematics. That was no longer disturbed because I was all into mathematics, theorems and all these things. And then we forget that. So, but somewhere in the late 20s, when I decided to be single, to be a single woman, when my decision was taken to be a single woman, I found that I had this more opportunity to choose my reading habits and what I do, my activities. So I was interested in women activities. I joined women's groups, and that was my active social activities. Now, during that period, this dialogic nature of which were happening in my mind came back. So I was asking, why am I doing this? Why is this happening even now in the 1990s? Why is it still here? We had a good feminist movement. I read a lot of books on feminism from Western countries and in Indian also. Yeah. Why still we are sitting in Dharna for over a gang rape case? So those dialogues again came back to my mind, and I was realizing slowly that now I am in conversation with myself in Malayalam. And that Malayalam language is now becoming powerful. Powerful, it is gaining power when I speak for me as a woman. That is in my mind, and I answer the norms, the existing norms that keep questioning me. So that language has slowly become powerful. So that power is gained, I thought, because it was dialogue. So that is what, it was all a sudden realization. See, the prose had limited me because I was not writing like myself. That is the main difficulty of an acquired language, which is not learned. The grammar was not learned. So that problem is there. So, but the dialogues don't need that. So this form of expressing myself took me to theater. You know, theater is not an alien thing for me. I used to go to shows when I was in the high school. Then the place that came to Kochi were by KPSC, you know, that sort of place. You know, it's almost like a professional drama that we say, it's commercial dramas that happen in Kerala. So there I loved seeing those dramas, you know, more than movies, because remember, that time, movies were mostly black and white. But drama on stage was very colorful. It had all the lights and good costumes and everything. So I enjoyed that. Not only that, some women characters would come and say, no, I would do it. Eniki manasillaayirunnu. That I still remember that dialogue. Eniki marikkan manasillaayirunnu. One lady used to come and look at that audience and say that. I was very excited over that. Hey, there is this woman coming and saying she won't do it. You expect me to commit suicide because you made my life a misery and you expect me to commit suicide. No, I won't. No, I shall not. But the only difference was that those plays tackled what Mudalali Thorilali issues, that is capitalism versus workers thing. So she, worker woman, working class woman is telling a capitalist Mudalali that she don't expect me to commit suicide. I will not. So that is the issue. But I was disappointed when she started crying in another situation because her husband was shopping at her or something. So that hasn't been resolved. So even though the social awareness is on the up, what's happening in the domestic scene has not been, is not changing. So that there the patriarchy is very safely residing there. So maybe, but at that time I could not analyze it like this. This is done in inside. But at that time, I did not like the way the character, even though I was up when she said, all geared up when she was saying very strongly to the audience, speaking strongly to the audience, but later crying when her husband was rebuking her. So that, as coming back to what I was saying, drama is something which always had excited me. I was drawn to that structure. So now, in this stage of dilemma, which I am saying, when I realized that the dialogue is the form of my expression, I was drawn. Naturally, I remembered my dramas that I had seen, and I was drawn to theater. And my feminist reading also introduced to me that theater was one of the main form of, one of the main medium of feminist movement. Agitprop theater, as Jamila Begum had just mentioned, that street theater, that it was initially street theater that they did in the late 70s in Western countries and 80s in India. And even in 80s, you have Manushi in Kerala doing the same thing, street theater, where it stuck to dowry issue, and where the students participated in the street theater. So that was the beginning. So I had some tool, though it's very vague, I had something to hold on. See, I could express myself in a dialogue way, but I was not familiar with the theater form at all. I was just audience. I just watched plays. I don't know anything about it. And I have read very few theater exams, all those, and some very little drama text I have read, apart from Shakespeare's, of course. So, and Shakespeare text I knew is not all suited to my style of expression. So, okay, so it was one of those moments when we had some strike, participating in a strike that is being held in the front of Secretariat against the gang rape of a girl, and then asking for redressal, legal redressal. Then there I met Suti. It was there I met Suti, the theater person. And I was very excited because, you know, the feminist theater had happened before. Now, at that time, I was in Trivandrum at Karivattam campus doing research in maths. But I still had this ideas of me going very strongly in my head, apart from maths, of course, apart from solving all this theory in between rushes in. So this, that they had formed there was a feminist theater in Kerala had happened. So that was very exciting for me. So I had something to relate to. It was not so far away where I have to go to somewhere else and to learn about that. No, it was right in front of me. But unfortunately, by the time I got to know of it, that group had dissolved. That group had dissolved because its founder members have gone different ways, and only Sudeep was remaining in Trust. So that was something, a bit of a tragedy in that sense, because they had made a very good play, feminist play and all that. Though I hadn't seen, I hadn't even heard about that until I met Sudhi there in one of the sit-ins before the second draft. So once I met her, I was too excited because I could now put this dialogue in my head into a definite form and speak my mind. So that eased, it didn't actually, I hadn't actually got over the dilemma stage of my life, because once we came together, we had this thing, because one theater form, feminist theater already been formed and just disappeared. So should we have one more? What is the point in having another theater when one has failed? That experiment had failed, actually. Reality is failed. So, and if we do, what should be aligned so that it won't fail like it earlier? So those questions were there. Or should we go for it? Should we do plays? So all these were there when we met and discussed about all these things. As we are discussing all these things, all the dilemma it was there, but it was much more eased because there was a lot of excitement. We are thinking about our future, not waiting around, unsure of what we should do. So once we had got together, then in 1990, prior to that, in 1998, the first ever Women's Theatre Festival happened in Thrissur, organized by Kerala Sangeet Nadaka Academy. There, we saw a lot of feminist plays, and there was a feminist workshop and all going on. So that introduced me to the possibility of theatre as a medium to express myself. Then, when I and Sudhi started talking in 1999 about another theatre, we were cautious at that time. We were very cautious, and we started doing workshops with children, with women, just workshops. We weren't thinking of plays at all, but actually, the Abhinetri had started has already made one decisive step in this field. Feminist theatre was formed, and they did what was the first thing that feminist theater practitioners did back in history. That is, reinterpret text by male writers. That is what one of the main agenda of feminist theater. Reinterpret text written by male authors. So they had taken play Edo Chiragadi Ochagal by G. Shankarapilla, Professor G. Shankarapilla, and reinterpreted it in a feminist manner and presented it. So they have started it. So the first phase had already begun, though it did not continue or last. So what should Niriksha do? Why, if no, at that time Niriksha was not there. If we are forming a women's theater, what should we do? So we had settled, let's do some workshops. It was gradually only we gathered some women in and around Ulu. That is where I was staying there. There were so many SHG groups at that time, self-help groups, all rural women. So we gathered them and we thought we will register it as a society. And they were somewhat interested in theater and drama, and they were willing to act and all. So let's give them workshops. That is how we wanted to start. If I are ever starting a women's theater group, it should be that way. So we registered. So before registering, we needed a name. And suddenly, the suggestion, I don't know where it came, and now I don't remember who suggested it, whether it was Sudhi or some other. Suddenly, Niriksha, it stuck, Niriksha. Now, actually, Niriksha is not a very common word. It was suggested Nirikshana because we wanted to observe. But we made it, when we looked into the Shabdatara or something like that, there was a word Niriksha, which was same meaning. So we selected that. And it was a very good, it's very interesting name, and as it grew, it was very effective, Niriksha. And we had an IESS, one IESS in there. So that is how it came into being. Okay, it has come into being. So we are out of that. Well, I personally was out of dilemma phase and slowly on the way of finding my voice. What to do with the group we have formed? How should it be, that group? Should we just do workshops, theater workshops? Should we do plays? And if you do plays, how it should be? So one phase is over. They have taken a text written by a male and interpreted it. Now we have to do the next. So I would, so at that time, even though we were not aware of it, we were really guided by what Lauren Kruger said about feminist theater. Though we had nothing, or we hadn't read this thing at all at that time when we were formed. So can we have that quotation, please, Bhuvaneshwari? So that was a very interesting quotation. Now, in hindsight, when we read about it later, so that is this thing, a way of defining feminist theater as distinct from other representational forms. There is a saying that women have always made spectacles of themselves. However, it has been only recently and intermittently that women have made spectacles themselves. On this difference turns the ambiguous identity of feminist theater. So that is, okay, thank you. So that was very, now in hindsight, it's a very relevant thing. So till now, women have made spectacle of this. Is not a criticism of women. It is actually, women had to be making themselves up for the eyes of somebody else. That's expected of us. It is not just applying makeup or beautifying. It is how to behave. It is how to carry yourself in social public spaces so that you do not disturb others. You do what is expected of you. So that is how you are something always watched. You are always watched. You are under scrutiny. Is she behaving properly? Is she all right? So that is the spectacle I interpret in that bogus quotation. So she has made herself into a spectacle because she's conforming to whatever is demanded of her. And when she appropriates the place of being a creator of spectacles, then she's creating history of sorts. She is making feminist theater happen. So that is the important thing. So we, at that time, unaware where was doing this play. We wanted to do a play. And how was that play? So that is when I came to this topic of Cassandra. Cassandra was actually termed a mad prophetess. She had the power to foretell, but she had the curse that she would not be believed. So she was termed mad. Now that was how I came to that is because there was at that time there were many feminist or women's voices dissent voices heard at that time, the late 90s. And everybody, someone said, "Avalkku prandhan" was something usually heard dialogue. Oh, "Avalkku prandhan." That sort of thing. So whenever a woman is saying something against what is expected or what a man is saying, so it's not like that. It's not like that. Then suddenly, oh, so it has become brushed aside with those words. So it was an interesting concept that I adapted into a play, a mad prophetess. So when I did my research on this Greek thing, as you mentioned, Greek character mythology has so much characters to reinterpret, like our own Mahabharata also to some extent, but this had more women characters that we could interpret. But Cassandra was especially interesting because of this quality of hers. So this is said in mythology that Apollo cursed her because she disobeyed him. So actually, is that he wanted her favors, sexual favors, and she refused, and that's why she was cursed that you will not be believed. It is also said it was Apollo who gave her this power to foretell. It is also said that she got this because she was what you call priestess in the priestess of Athena. So all these, there are a lot of versions around, but I just took this as how, as she defied this Apollo, she got cursed. So I built on that, and Apollo for me was the patriarchy in an aromas. He represented the patriarchy, he dictates terms and asks sexual favors. No, does not treat women as an individual, but more as a sexual companion. Or so that and a refusal will bring her doom. So that is, I was playing around that. More than that, her voice against war. So that was highlighted in the. She was continuously speaking against war, and nobody was listening to her. That is what women have been doing for a long time. The 90s and or throughout this 21st millennium, women are even now speaking against war and violence. So, and they are not heard. That, even though eventually this led to her death, that is a very relevant character to start off our adventure of creating plays from a women's perspective. So we selected that, and I started writing Pravachaka. Pravachaka can be considered as a classic sort of feminist text in Malayalam. actually was translating the dialogic form of conversation that I had in mind into paper. As I had very little introduction to the conventions of theater and playmaking, I had no much of stage instructions or things given in there. But interestingly, I had this, what you call, seasons. Each scene was given a season as happening in a particular season: spring, summer, winter, and it was the rainy days, the summer days. So Venal, Mara, Ilapozhiyinkala, all was there. So each scene had the emotion within that scene was symbolized by a particular season. So that was how I could describe that scene, because I liked the theater convention. So that play was full of powerful dialogues. That powerful dialogues even had some criticism, which I come to it. That dialogue was in the form of Apollo or other centers of power speaking, and she answering them in their own language. As they speak in very high-flown language, she's using their vocabulary and speaking to returning that or answering that. So that a feminist play shouldn't be, we have a women's language was the main criticism. Why didn't have a women's language was one of the criticism that was raised. But I think she was a princess, and I know I wanted her to speak in the same way as the men in the play, because otherwise she's already a mad prophetess. So if she is speaking, say, for example, gibberish, or she's speaking in some other language, then easily the people will say, oh, we can't understand what she's speaking. She's mad, that's why. So the madness will come can be celebrated if it's done. So I wanted, but maybe I didn't think so analytically at the time I was writing, but I wanted to talk back word for word as I used to do in my head during my breathless period. So Pravachaka was like that. So now I would say Pravachaka was a text. It was a form where women now were writing into text, as Sissus had said. Helen Sissus had said the same thing. So can we have that thing? So women
should I show now?
Yes.
Should I show now? Okay.
Yes, you can show. Women should write herself, she said.
Is it okay?
Yes, it's coming. Let's come. Women should must write herself, must write about women and bring women to writing, from which they have driven away as violently as from their bodies, for the same reasons, by the same law, with the same fatal goal. Women must put herself into the text as into the world and into history by her own movement. So in some way, Pravachaka is putting herself into the text. Though I had no such a knowledge of this, it came later. When I wrote Pravachaka in 2008, even though Sissus was familiar to me, this particular thing I hadn't gone in detail. Just the thing that women should write their language and all that, only the interpretation was there. But now when I read this quotation, I got some 4 or 5 or 10 years back. I was struck by that. So Pravachaka was speaking into the text. So that is how it happened. Okay. So, and it was a big success because it brought forth a different form of visualization by Sudhi Devan. So it brought, and it did 3 fundamental principles of writing a play from a women's perspective. One is put the woman as a central character. a woman character should drive the narrative of the play. Usually, it will be a male protagonist, and a woman will be his connection with him as a lover, mother, or some sibling or somebody. So she will not be cannot play much role in driving the narrative forward. So that should be changed. If you want a real woman to speak about her real experiences as she sees the world. So a woman should be in the center of the narrative. She should have a language which is different. Now I'll explain to that. The language that was existing, at least in Malayalam plays till that time, was a very strong words or the vocabulary of the dialogues by the male characters were much stronger, displaying a variety of emotions, the ability of displaying a variety of emotions. While women spoke in a softer tone. It will be either pleading, complaining, and even she accuses or makes a point, it will be in a plaintive voice. It's almost as with a tinge of apology. So the language of the dialogue given to them, it will be in Malayalam, of course. Both are speaking Malayalam, but the way the words are given to male characters and female characters is very interesting to watch. It goes on even if you watch the movies or the TV series, even now it is happening the same way. Conventional way is to give softer words and said in a very soft, with softer emotions in the representing of women. So this, I think, is a throwback on the way of Sanskritam theatre traditions, where women were not allowed to speak Sanskrit, even though they were present on stage, unlike in Greek theatre where they were banished from stage. Even though present in stage, they are forbidden to talk in the language of the male. That main character only can speak Sanskritam or Sanskrit. Women and the slaves cannot. So that is what is happening. I think somehow even the same language we have this difference in that. So can I'm audible?
Yes, very much. Please go on.
Okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You're audible. Go ahead.
So some notification came in. Okay. So as that happens, so when you do a feminist, when you do a creation, whether it is feminist or not, when you want to create a play from a women's perspective, the women should talk her experience, be able to talk her experience, honestly. Whatever way you cannot say, oh, will I offend the other male or other conventions? It should not be with that hesitation. So that's the first thing. So the language becomes, that way becomes, how she speaks becomes very important. How a woman speaks should be very important. So I wanted to change that language. I wanted to change the way women talks to the world at large. That is seen in that clip of Rajarajeswari, if you listen. We can even see yes, you can show it. You can even see, okay, you can even see how the actress renders it. Very unconventional.
Shall I play?
Yes.
Can you hear?
യുദ്ധപ്പറമ്പിലെ ശവക്കൂനയിൽ നിന്ന് ട്രോയ് ദേശം വേരോടെ അറ്റുപോകട്ടെ എന്ന് ആക്രോശിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ശത്രുക്കൾ കൊന്നൊടുക്കുന്ന ശിശുക്കളുടെ ജനങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന്, കെടുതികളിൽ നിന്ന്, രോഗികളിൽ നിന്ന്, ജലത്തിൽ കാറ്റിൽ പുഴുക്കൾ നുരയ്ക്കുന്ന പുഴുക്കൾ ട്രോയ് പുഴുക്കൾ.
So this was a very different way a female character in Malayalam theatre read as a dialogue, and the dialogue speaks about it is a trial of Cassandra. It's a small portion from the trial of Cassandra that happens in the play, where she's accused of demoralizing the troops by saying no war and all that. So when she's accused by the judge and the army person says, the commander says, Yuddham aanungalde kaliyanu, then along with that she replies, and she's talking about Purukkal, Troy Nagaramage Purukkal. So before that, they say, she's saying, you big people, come out from your ivory towers and look at the people on the there you find worms. Purukkal, Nurekkunna Purukkal, Troy Nagaramage Purukkal. So it is a criticism of the patriarchal society around us. But it was this portion became very relevant during a pandemic time because how our whole country is full of worms. So that is the way we try to present a female character very strongly, speaking against the system. And system was put in place by this court and the trial, jail, all this was there in the play. And each time this woman is speaking alone until the Troy was taken and she was captured and eventually killed. But even then, till then, she's speaking like that. And later on, we ended that women could gain inspiration from her, even though she died. More women follow her, continue what she was doing. So that's how we entered the play symbolically. So that was one of the way of saying. So here you saw not only the dialogue, but the way it is rendered. It was rendered in a very strong way, rather than saying, it is because the structure of the dialogue that is not very conducive to say it in a very, very soft tones. It has to be said in a very great energy. Similar to that, I want you to listen to Andiga, my clip from Andiga. Can you show it, please? Andiga.
Yes, I'll just show it.
There, Antiga is about Draupadi, a woman who would not see is what I given as tagline. She would not see. And here she confronts Krishna, Lord Krishna or whatever, the God, and questions him.
Shall I play?
Yes.
പതിയുടെ അന്ധത സ്വയം വരച്ച് പതിവ്രതയായപ്പോൾ കാഴ്ചയില്ലാത്തവരുടെ മക്കളായി അവർ നിലപാടുകളില്ലാത്തവരായ ആക്ഷേപം ജനങ്ങൾ ഉന്നയിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്.
അവതാര പുരുഷനും ആ അഭിപ്രായം തന്നെയാണോ? ഞാനൊന്ന് ചോദിക്കട്ടെ, ദൂത് പരാജയപ്പെട്ടപ്പോൾ താങ്കൾ എന്തേ യുദ്ധത്തിൽ നിന്ന് മാറി നിന്നില്ല, മറിച്ച് മറുപക്ഷത്ത് ചേരുകയല്ലേ ഉണ്ടായത്?
ആ പക്ഷത്ത് ന്യായമുള്ളതായുണ്ട്.
ന്യായ അന്യായങ്ങൾ ആപേക്ഷികം മാത്രം, യുദ്ധവും ദുരിതവും യാഥാർത്ഥ്യം.
കണ്ണും കെട്ടി അധിപന്റെ പത്നിയായി അസുഖം വാഴുമ്പോഴും ഈ നാടിന്റെയോ മക്കളുടെയോ പോക്കിനെ പറ്റി സൗബലി എന്നെങ്കിലും വ്യാകുലപ്പെട്ടതായി എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിട്ടില്ല. ഒരു സ്ത്രീ നിങ്ങളുടെ മക്കളാൽ അപമാനിതയായപ്പോൾ പോലും നിങ്ങൾക്കത് തടുക്കുവാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞില്ല.
പക്ഷേ ഈ അവതാര പുരുഷൻ സ്ത്രീ സംരക്ഷകനായി പേരെടുത്തുവല്ലോ. രാധ എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്, എന്റെ ഉത്തരീയങ്ങൾ കോർത്തെടുത്ത് അഴിച്ചാലും അഴിയാത്ത വസ്ത്രകവചം തീർത്ത കഥ.
അവതാരങ്ങൾക്ക് അത്ഭുത കഥകൾ ആവശ്യമാണ്.
അവതാര പുരുഷൻ അത് ആസ്വദിക്കുന്നുമുണ്ടല്ലേ?
നോക്കൂ, നമ്മൾ രണ്ടുപേരും ഒരിടത്താണ്. മെനഞ്ഞെടുത്ത ബിംബങ്ങൾക്കുള്ളിൽ, അധികാരത്തിന് ശക്തി പകരുന്ന ബിംബങ്ങൾക്കുള്ളിൽ. അവയിൽ നിന്ന് നമുക്കൊരിക്കലും മോചനമില്ല.
Okay.
Shall I
thank
stop?
you. Yes. So here, I don't know about people who don't understand Malayalam, but here also she's questioning the God for the thing. But whereas she is not shown in a particular as a person to follow, she's criticized. Draupadi is criticized for not seeing other women's plight. So she is also a part. So it is a reference to women who follow the patriarchal norms and refuse to find other, empathize with other women's plight. So she was a symbol of that in Andika. It was a later play, 2023. So she was 2022. So that is, I think we find a lot of women also a part of patriarchy, securing their positions. So it's a comment on that. So the God, even as she's questioning the God, the great symbol of patriarchy. But he is pointing out that you also are part of that because you got the name of Pativrata by closing your eyes. That's symbolically to the plight of other women. So that is what that play says. That is writing dialogues powerful enough to question the other male head or male figures of patriarchy. Is one of the forms that is mainly used in Nireksha plays. And the acting of the women characters are full of strength and power, and the movements are rather given to men like that. The way she shows her or conducts that thing as a queen. And she also has her own power, but it's usually reserved for kings. But now she is also doing the same. But if you show Draupadi in a conventional set, she should be crying and she should be saying, "Oh, my thing." Even if she's speaking against, also she would be doing it in a very soft or contained manner. So here everything is like this.
Excuse me, Rajeshwari. Isn't
Yes.
that Gandhari, not Draupadi? You are talking
Oh,
about.
sorry.
Yeah.
Gandhari. Gandhari is that. So I'm sorry, I'm talking about Saubali. We called her Saubali in the theater and the play, but it is Gandhari. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. It was Gandhari who tied up her eyes and would not see women's plight, other women's plight. So that is how it was done. Now, okay, so I had jumped, just another thing about a feminist play is its refusal to keep to the linear format. So we know in most of the male writing, it follows a chronological order. So many feminist theorists have said that women's experience are not linear. Male have their life set out, they are child, they grow up, they go to school, they gain education, they get a job, they marry, they raise children, and they go to the grave. So there is a continuity along with the time, straight thing. But a woman, she grows up, she goes to school, she gets education, drops halfway, she has to get married, beget children, raise them, and when she has time, come back to whatever she was doing earlier, and by which time most of her energetic time will be over. And okay, then if she's ever coming back, she has to take this detour and then come back. So this non-linear form of so a woman's life is never strictly chronological. So she is if you want to express her, it has to be done in a non-linear way. So it has to break time and space. So like my talk. I jumped to 2023, but I'm now going back to 1999 when we started Niriksha Women's Theatre along with Sruti Devyani. After that, as I said, after we did Pravajaka, the Pravajaka was a huge success because it was very innovative at that time. It was an innovative production, and it was selected for the International Festival at Bharat Rang Mahotsav in New Delhi. Then it visited so many other national festivals also. So so after that, we did Aanungal Illaatha Pennungal, which was based on Parsipur's Women Without Men. It was that English text was adapted, translated and adapted into a script by myself. So after that, we did several other plays. But by 2013, we had come to our place at the present place at near Palmango in Trivandrum. There's some 70 kilometers off the city from Tambani. But it's a very nice rural space. Can you please show me the slide of our theatre? There are 2 slides.
Okay.
Yes. So
Which is our slide number? Acha,
1 and
slide 1. Oh, slide. Okay, okay. Just 1 minute.
not the quotes, but the other.
I'll start it and we can.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So this is what we did. We wrote into history as Helen
This
said.
one? This one?
Ah, yes, this one. So we made a theater in its own place. So this land is in the name of Niriksha Women's Theatre. We built a training space, and there is a side you can find a small quarters for the artists to stay. And upstairs there is a kitchen space. So for rehearsal, it is self-contained unit rehearsal. Can we have the next slide, please? Yes. This is a library. This is also part of, here you see the steps. They can be used as a gallery, and the side also you can sit where open air small performance can happen here, and people can sit around and watch. So very small space. We have about 10 cents of land, but we have made to do a small theater space where women can come, stay, do theater, and even do anything. They can write if they want to come to write. They can stay there and write if they want to paint or the artists. They can come and stay and do it. So it's a space for women. So we have done. We can proudly claim to have taken another step. The sense that we have written ourselves into history, which has vanished us. The history of theatre had banished women from its premises, because it never allowed women to be on stage for a long time. And even if it did, when it did in our side, in the Oriental side, it refused to give her certain words. So that way, we can say, and that is a way we have got into the history of, gained space in the history of theatre. And so we have written ourselves into the history also. Thank you. You can take that. So that way, now, how much time I have, or I should stop, because there are more important things to say. Can we see the slides of the?
I think another 5 to 8 minutes.
Yes, 5 to 8 minutes is okay. So maybe we can quickly see the plays done by us. So the slides, Pravajaka starts with Pravajaka.
Okay. Okay, I'll start it. This one?
Yes. This is Pravajaka and Athena. Athena is actually seen as a god of war, but she has a prehistory, where she is a god of weaving. So there it is said in the text how the god of weaving has been transformed into the god of war. So she herself says, here I am standing under the, she is supposed to have given olive tree to the world. So that's all in the mythology. So she says that dialogue, I, Athena, stand underneath the olive, I, Athena, the goddess of war, standing under this olive tree. So she's saying that dialogue in the play. Okay, thank you. Next slide. This is this is a scene from Aanungal Penningal. Here you have an interesting character of a woman who plants herself as a tree. So that tree woman is on the top, and this set piece acts as a set as also a symbol of a tree. So it is a spiral staircase, like a spiral staircase. There's a very innovative structure at that time. It was very much widely acclaimed. This play also was performed at it went to Goa and several other places. So the next one. This is Punarjani. The Punarjani is what I was talking about. It talks about women, 3 different women who had died or been killed at different points of time. And another woman wants to enter into their lives and change the ending. So from this point onwards, I started using the form of magical realism into my plays. So here there is this fantastic element, the idea where the woman wants to enter into the life of the dead woman and try to change the thing, but she fails because the system that killed them is strong, that they won't allow her to change it. So that is what the play says. So next one. The next one is this is Avatar. This is also a very interesting play where the woman who forgets who she is, and she forgets her past, not who she is, and she's trying to find about herself in the social media, and there she finds that the devices seem to recognize her, and there are more than one profile. She's many things there. She's a painter, she's an artist, she's a writer, she writes poetry, and so many other things. So, she don't know who she is. So it just the symbolic reference or is something about the real woman, how she split between various identities. So she's a mother, daughter, lover, wife. But who is she? That is a problem. That's what is happening in this. And we use this trampoline to show that cyberspace, where the movement should be different from the real space. So that's the next slide. This is Vartamanagam. It's a huge play. It's a big play. Here, this is one scene of it and one story. Here, one of the girl in the left end becomes a mannequin person. She's a sales girl in a clothes store, boutique, a big one, and she becomes herself a mannequin. So there, I told you so that elements of fantastical element come in always from Punarjani. I'm starting Punarjani. My form has evolved to magical realism, because in contrast to the next one, this is Ambika, the scene in Ambika. I just wanted it because the way that women is sitting here is very interesting. The people, it's the episode from Mahabharata, but people discussing the war is in the back. The women's quarters are in the main stage, front stage, and the court and where all these deliberations of all these things happen is behind. So that is upsetting the narrative in the Mahabharata. So it is seen, it is actually this play is as seen by the women in this right side. They are the worker, women maids and the rest in the court. And they narrate this episodes of Mahabharata. So the next one. And this is Beyond the Shadows. It's a very interesting play. It's the latest, 23 it was done. This is one of the post-COVID production. So a minimal setting and women-only team doing the play. Unlike our earlier play, which had a huge ensemble cast of both men and women. Now, it is women only, but this is a typical feminist play. It's bilingual play. It is both in English and Malayalam dialogue. It's a very interesting play. There is a small clip in that, but before we go into that, I think we can stop with this. Before we can stop the slides for this. Before we go into that, I just wanted to mention some more things about how one can escape the gaze. Here, by the male gaze actually refers, because it was contributed by feminist Linda someone. She's Linda?
Action.
She actually was speaking in context of films. The male gaze as such is a patriarchal gaze rather than referring to a particular man or woman. And it can be expanded to include any gaze, privileged gaze. I interpret it like that. Any look from a privileged position is a gaze, because you are put in a comfort zone vis-a-vis the character or whoever is against you, because you are in a safer position, in control, so that you can look, whereas other person may not be in a position to return your look. So that is what gaze is. Now, I don't want to put the audience of watching our plays in a very convenient, privileged position so that they can gaze at the characters on the stage. So that is why women talk loudly, they talk defiantly, their body language is strong, sometimes aggressive, and sometimes playful, but their dialogue is sharp. So that is how one of the ways of upsetting the privileged look is setting the play in that way. So, as I said, language, one thing, putting women on the center of the narrative is another thing by which we can avoid, put off the gaze. Secondly or thirdly, how you conceive the visual, that's a very important thing, how you conceive the visual. When there is a male and female characters on stage, it is very important how they are placed on stage, and how the dialogues are delivered. So that very important, because naturally their voice is stronger, and if a woman raises her voice, it will become shrill. So earlier time when the audio things was less sophisticated, the women had to train to speak in a bold voice. But now you have this lapel, we call it lapel, now they say head mic possibly. Where you can talk you have this mic here, so you can talk, you can behave well. You can talk as you behave in real life. But earlier, the dramatic stage had its own, the voice should be the natural one, organic one. So there the women should speak in such a way that they don't sound hysterical, but it should be powerful enough to express it. And it should be the dynamics between the man and woman should not upset in favor of man. So that is the design should be in such a way that it does not happen. And the energy of the male energy should be effectively counterbalanced by the women or the woman protagonist on stage, because they will have move forward fast and very energy, but women also should match them. So these are very important aspects of representing, not making that visual. And beyond that, how they are placed is very important. So always giving high position, high level, not position, level in stage means importance, and that is usually given to men. But we reverse it and try to put women on the top space. And in the case where it is not down, that is in Pravachika, almost all the male characters which symbolized power were on the top position and women were on the floor. But there, the director had, that Sudhi had done, what she did is she used a hanging platform. So the people on the actors actually on that had to do the balancing act to remain stable in that platform as they act. So that also reflected on the precarious way the power is sustained. You know, if you want to sustain power, you have to do a lot of balancing act. So that also is there. So that is how we try to break the conventional visuals so that the audience cannot comfortably sit and watch the women on doing the play. Because there are a lot of women on in our plays, it should not lead to a very opportunity for gazing at them. So we place them in such a way that gaze is broken. Now, this doesn't, on the side, I must say that this is not applicable only to women. So we did plays with people in wheelchair. People in wheelchair were the actors. They were non-actors actually. They were residents of Cheshire Boom. But those people were trained and brought to stage to do a play. The way, when on the first performance, there was a lot of sympathetic noises as they moved about and shows, like that. It was the first time in Kerala or in Malayalam theatre that people in wheelchair is being brought to stage. So there was also oh, will they fall? But they are very good at controlling their wheelchair. But people were, oh, will they fall? That anxiety was there and anxious noises were there. So the second performance, what we did is we split the level. We put some on the upper balcony level and somewhere on the stage, somewhere. So we split the look. So they gained the power, the characters gained some power, and the audience had to look here, look there, look everywhere. So they were not in a comfortable position to gaze. So as I said, a gaze is a powered look only. So it can be to any person less privileged than you. Even if it is with sympathy, also it's a gaze. They don't want any sympathy. So how to split the gaze is always a very important thing in most of the play. So this in this finding our voices phase, we had traveled a lot, and one of the main thing that Sisu was saying is bring more women into writing. So when we had brought many women to the theatre, not only among the professionals or more privileged class, we had brought Kudumbashree, women from Kudumbashree on stage. We were instrumental in creating women theatre groups with women from Kudumbashree. So there we are doing something else, what she had asked us to do. Bring other women. So bringing other women, more and more women to theatre is what present vision is, and we're doing it. We started in 2014-15, when a lot of women from Kudumbashree came into theater, they formed their own group. Now, government is doing something. It is encouraging women's theater in each panchayat of Kerala. And we are training even now the panchayat, women from our panchayat where the Nirisha is situated. So we are given the cues for even the powers that we do follow. Make women theaters. Theater, you see, it's not merely an art form. It is, of course, an art form, but it's not merely an art form. It is a life in a crucible. So, the Greek, the theater, the tragedy was a very important political event because through that, they wanted to teach others, teach the people of the city-state how to be a good citizen. Even there's a criticism of that, they wanted, the powers also wanted that, and catharsis was that, to give up their bad habits, to induce them to give up their bad habits through the play. So the plays are not simply something that you can, of course, you can make it into a commercial entertainment thing, but it has its political power also. So it is, as of now, it is still relevant by what the government action shows, women's theatre in all panchayats of Kerala. Thank you. I think I'll stop with that.
Thank you, Rajarajeswari. It was a very interesting presentation, and one can gauge the passion as you talk, the passion for the theatre and the passion to make women's theatre and to make it what it is today, to go out to the grassroots level and have participation. I think that's a great change, a big change that will come through that kind of an enterprise. And when you're talking about Nirisha, I was thinking about Virginia Woolf's Room of One's Own. So you have created a house for yourself, for a stage for yourself. And I think with the woman at the center of it, congratulations. Now, with those words, I would like to open the session to a discussion, and anyone who would like to.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Yes.
Before that, Harmony, 1 minute.
Yeah,
Sudhi
sure.
Devyani has also joined. Shall we ask her to say something first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sudhi, would you like to say something? Add to what Rajeshwari has told us?
I think she has closed it and gone. I
You
think she
have
may
to
have
unmute, Sudhi.
not only unmute, I don't know whether she has kept it
No,
on the phone and gone somewhere. She's not answering.
Okay, we'll leave that then. So over to you, Kamini.
Okay, that was wonderful, Rajarajeswari. It was so
Thank you.
wonderful. And from a breathless state, you have come to a stage of fulfillment, right? Yeah. So
now, even now we are traveling to search for our voice.
Still there, but you reach a little bit.
Yes, yes.
That level. So, and it took a long time for you to come to that stage too. A lot of dilemmas and breathlessness and all that you had. But very proud of you that you have achieved your passion, as Remila was saying. You have achieved it, and you're trying to, through a drama or theatre. And theatre is a very powerful medium through which you can communicate to the audience your thoughts. And I'm very happy that you've taken up women's issues also. And many the Kudumbashree people are coming forward for the theatre. They're all wonderful girls, these Kudumbashree, because I too had done a study on them, something else, some other aspect. They're all very empowered women. So I'm sure they will take their thoughts to the grassroots, to the community. And so wish you all the best, madam, for your future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Puneshwari, yes.
Yeah, as it was quite an interesting thing to listen to. And okay, actually, a number of points, struck me. Like many of these things, you also experience, like your breathlessness and that stage, dilemma, all those things. But there are certain things which I really loved, like not writing like me. The problem of, the transforming your English to Malayalam thinking
and dialogues. That was very interesting. That's how you could develop into that, a language. So that was also very nice. And lastly, about the gaze, you said, that word we have got a different perspective of the word gaze, whether such thing. And yeah, it was very interesting. Thank you so much for that. And incidentally, my own son, he is in the media thing, and he was with a theatrical group in Delhi, when Katha Yatra. So he has done some drama, a very
Yes.
successful drama, A Perfect Relationship. That was a very acclaimed drama sometime in Delhi. Yeah, he's now a filmmaker. Yeah.
Yes.
So
We had Nirisha had gone to Delhi University, Shakespeare Society, and we made a workshop on gender trouble. So taking the characters that cross-dressed in Shakespeare play. And remembering that Shakespeare, women are played by boys in women's gown. And that character dresses as men. So it's a lot of this gender trouble is happening in that side. So we had made a very interesting play, and the students there, of that Darul Islam College had a very great time, and they were very creative students, and they put up a play that based on.
of course, it's a very satisfying field, I'm sure, for you. Yes. And all the very best. All the very best to you. Okay.
Usha, anyone else?
Rama Anantram from Hyderabad, ma'am. How are you all?
Please go ahead.
Ma'am,
I'm sorry, I have to leave for a meeting. So I'm just
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for helping us out, Dinashri.
No, it was okay. It was good. I could relate to it. So that's nice. Thank you. I hope I could do it okay.
Yeah, you did well.
Yeah, you're wonderful. You're wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam. Rama, please.
Rama,
I won't switch off the computer for this thing. Huh? I won't switch off the computer because the recording is on, no? So I will leave it as it is for some time.
Okay. I'm humble enough to accept that we have had a wonderful afternoon with a genius. Thank you so much. It was wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Rama is from Hyderabad.
Yes, she said.
That's a place where there is a lot of feminist theatre.
Yes, yes.
Anyone else? Usha?
Yes. Thank you, Rajeshwari, for that wonderful presentation. And I would like to just tell the other participants that we were fortunate to have her as a guide when we did a project under the Energy Management Center in Trivandrum. They wanted us to create a street play. And Rajeshwari and Sudhi were very helpful. They came forward and they did the whole thing. They prepared the script, trained the students. We first had a group of students, then we had some group of young women, and the different branches took it up, and we could perform it in, I think, about 12 or 13 places. And it was a very good experience for us. Yes, and they were really very gracefully, they had done it free for us, and it was a great, it was a new experience for us. And also, she has been going to Delhi very frequently, and
yes, that's hostel there. Hostel there, being great help.
She's in the AIWC hostel when she goes to Delhi. So we are happy that we are able to host you there. So thank you so much for spending so much time, and it was a different experience for us. The usual talks we have are all different, and this is the first time I think we had someone from the theatre talking to us, and we all of us really enjoyed it. And though the attendance here was not so substantial, most of the our friends watch it on YouTube because the time may not suit them.
Yes.
share
Because
the
you are recording it, it's very
Yeah,
Yes,
nice.
we are
Yeah,
recording and
we'll
it is
send you the link.
live on YouTube also, and many more people watch on YouTube. So once again, I would like to thank Rajarajeswari and all other friends who joined, and maybe because of paucity of time, many of them have already left, but still I would like to thank all of you. And Jamila, would you like to say something about the next?
ആരുമില്ലല്ലോ.
No,
There's nobody.
I think Rajeshwari has given us so much of thought to ruminate on and to digest. It was a wonderful experience seeing how you have grown as a writer from a mathematician, the way you have been able to imbibe so many aesthetic values, particularly the stage settings that you showed us, very, very innovative. And it sort of gave you the feeling, the centering of the woman, the voice of the woman. It's done very well. So congratulations on all the work you have done. And we hope that you will join us on this forum. Again, not to give talks only, but also to listen to some of our programs. So we'll be sending you the link.
Okay.
So thank you very much for being
But
here.
I
and
can
spending so
identify
much-
myself with Rajarajeswari because I speak Tamil at home and I have not learned Malayalam. When I became the principal of women's college, I couldn't talk in Malayalam at all. I could only talk in English.
No, that's a
Hats
problem.
off to you because you learned Malayalam. Very good.
Thank you. And even thank you. I even write it. So
I know. I don't know. I didn't know. I didn't attempt at all. Hats off to you to learn Malayalam.
Thank you.
And as you said, Malayalam is a very powerful language
Yes,
now
it's
because
a
it
powerful
really
and
hits
difficult
at
also.
the
Difficult to learn.
sentiments of people, the words and
Yes,
the way
very
you
important.
put it across, So thank you very much. So on that note, we'll close this session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isha.
So
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rajeshwari.
Thank you.